Do you remember that iconic sound of metal shifting into form?
The Transformers! Robots in disguise!
I spent my childhood mesmerized by the sheer majesty of Optimus Prime, yet I could never shake the chills down my spine whenever Soundwave's mechanical drone echoed from that humble cassette player. But behind the smoke and mirrors of the silver screen lie secrets you wouldn't believe. Did you know that the mighty Megatron was once denied entry into Australia? Or that the compassionate medic Ratchet draws his name from one of the most terrifying female villains in cinematic history? And if I told you that the heroes of Cybertron were actually resurrected from dead stock toys that nobody wanted, or that their arrival on Earth was nothing more than a tragic accident of exiles, you'd realise the Transformers empire is built on a foundation of hilarious yet fascinating contradictions. Today, we're stepping away from the eternal clash between Autobots and Decepticons to reopen the files and uncover 15 shocking secrets from over 40 years of these legendary robotic warriors. 15. The steamier version. When robots need a kiss to transform. Remember those heroic moments when Optimus Prime shouts, "Autobots, transform and roll out"? Or you might want to tuck that memory away, because in the Japanese version, Kiss players, things happen in a much more passionate way. In this bizarre universe, giant robots require a specific spark of energy to transform. A kiss from a human girl. Yes, you heard that right. The kiss of a schoolgirl is the literal power source for these massive engines of war. Furthermore, these girls can merge into the robots' bodies. While it sounds similar to piloting a Gundam, the manga's execution is laden with suggestive undertones and poses that would make any viewer blush. In reality, Kiss Players was an attempt by Takara, Hasbro's Japanese partner, to tap into the otaku market, those who love the intersection of mecha and bishoujo, beautiful girls. However, they arguably went too far, turning righteous heroes into characters in a steamy, romance-tinged drama. They even sold robot figures bundled with tiny schoolgirl dolls, featuring compartments designed to hold the dolls in suggestive positions. Believe me, Hasbro would never dare sell this set in the States. The series was fiercely pelted with stones by the fan community. It's like watching a superhero flick that suddenly swerves into adult-rated territory without any warning. 14. The war for Cybertron crash-landed on Earth. Do you recall the moment streaks of light tore through the sky and slammed into the Earth, shaking the mountains to their core? That was the Ark, the Autobots' final beacon of hope, searching for energy to save a dying homeworld. But in a bitter twist of fate, their desperate escape was cut short by a relentless Decepticon pursuit. Behind the explosions, the Autobots and Decepticons are essentially homeless. They didn't choose Earth. They are warriors locked in a brutal, million-year conflict. Cybertron is a graveyard of ruins, and they carried that ancient hatred with them when they fell onto our blue planet. Imagine these titans lying dormant inside a volcano for 4 million years. They slept through the entirety of human evolution, only to wake up in 1984 and realize the war never ended. These gods are lost souls, refugees carrying their trauma to a foreign land, only to continue tearing each other apart. 13. The death of Optimus Prime was a marketing accident. Do you remember the sheer shock of seeing the great Optimus Prime fall in the 1986 animated film? With his final breath, he tries to pass the matrix of leadership to Ultra Magnus, but then his hand goes limp, the relic slips, and Hot Rod catches it. A haunting image signalling the end of an era. At the time, we thought it was a narrative climax. The truth, however, was cold and commercial. Hasbro wanted to kill off the old characters to clear shelf space for a new line of toys. They completely underestimated the fact that Optimus had become a spiritual icon. The wave of outrage from parents and the genuine grief of children was so intense that the studio had to scramble to resurrect him in the following cartoon season. Did that scene break your heart too? Let me know in the comments. The Transformers once teamed up with Spider-Man. Can you imagine your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man standing tall on the shoulder of a steel giant in the heart of Manhattan? It sounds like a piece of fan fiction or a modern billion-dollar Hollywood crossover. But in reality, long before the multiverse was a trend, Marvel pulled off a crazy handshake. In the third issue of the original 80-issue Transformers comic run, Optimus Prime fought side by side with Spider-Man under the watchful eyes of Nick Fury and Dum Dum Dugan to rescue their human friend Sparkplug Witwicky. It sounds like a joke, but alien robots were once an official part of the Marvel Universe. Back in 1984, the day Peter Parker swung his webs onto Autobot metal to fight Decepticons, it wasn't called the cinematic event of the year. It was just another Wednesday at the Marvel offices. Did you notice something special? In this issue, Spider-Man is wearing his black symbiote suit, the one that would later become Venom. This proves the Transformers appeared right in the middle of a pivotal Marvel timeline. Just imagine if we saw Spidey swinging between Megatron's legs on the big screen today. The theatres would absolutely explode. 11. Bumblebee wasn't always a sleek Camaro. If your primary introduction to the Transformers was through the high-octane lens of Michael Bay's films, you likely picture Bumblebee as a muscular American Camaro. But let's rewind the clock to 1984. Our beloved Yellow Jacket was originally a tiny, unassuming Volkswagen Beetle. Why a bug? The designers wanted Bumblebee to be as relatable as possible to children. A small friend with a courageous heart. Transforming him into a high-end supercar later on was actually a massive commercial makeover. Back in the 80s, the Volkswagen Beetle was the ultimate symbol of friendliness and accessibility. Choosing this form allowed Bumblebee to blend into the streets without causing panic, making him feel more like a companion than a weapon of war. 10. Transformers was born. Thanks to President Ronald Reagan. Have you ever wondered why the 1980s was the golden age for mega hits like Transformers G.I., Joe and He-Man? The answer doesn't lie with the artists, but within the walls of the White House. You can actually thank President Ronald Reagan for that. Before this era, US television strictly regulated children's programming. The law forbade turning a cartoon into a full-length commercial, designed to lure kids into buying toys. However, everything changed thanks to President Reagan's deregulation policies. He tore down these legal barriers, inadvertently handing toy companies a powerful green card. Hasbro and Takara wasted no time joining forces to launch Transformers. They no longer had to fear lawsuits for excessive advertising. Instead of a 30-second commercial, they had 22 minutes every Saturday morning to tell the epic saga of the Autobots and Decepticons. Each episode was, in essence, a living catalogue. We weren't just watching a show, we were craving the toys appearing on our screens. 9. The secrets behind the robots' names. Have you ever noticed that names like Megatron, Shockwave, or Ratchet sound oddly familiar? That's no coincidence. It's the result of a wicked bit of magic by Bob Budiansky, the father of these robotic personalities. Budiansky borrowed from the pop culture icons of the time to breathe life into these inanimate machines. Imagine this. Shockwave's chilling logic was borrowed directly from the emotionless reasoning of Mr. Spock in Star Trek, while the mighty name Megatron found its roots in the film The Man from UNCLE. But here's the detail that will truly make you do a double take. Ratchet, the kind and dedicated Autobot medic, was named after Nurse Ratched, one of the most terrifying villains in cinematic history from the film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This subtle connection to cinematic giants instantly gave the robots a layer of psychological depth, making them feel realer than ever before. Does it give you the chills to realise the gentle hero Ratchet shares a name with a silver screen she-devil? Let me know your thoughts. 8. Soundwave, the voice from hell. Among the dozens of alien robots, only Soundwave's voice has the power to send chills down your spine. It isn't booming and authoritative like Megatron's. It is a cold, detached and hauntingly mechanical sound. To create that obsessive voice, legendary voice actor Frank Welker had to perform a grueling vocal feat. Frank used a deep, gravelly voice technique to produce a specific low-frequency range.
Malish, this is Soundwave reporting.
Only then did the sound engineers run it through a vocoder. That vocoder device was used to clone his voice into multiple layers. The result? When Soundwave speaks, it sounds as if dozens of computers are articulating at once, creating a cold resonance that feels like it's echoing from a subterranean tomb. Every time he mutters, "Soundwave superior, Autobots inferior," I bet you felt a little rattled, didn't you? 7. Our heroes were originally dead stock? Surely we all remember the first time we held an Optimus Prime or Megatron figure. That feeling of cradling a masterpiece was simply too good. But let me let you in on a secret. Most of the first generation Autobots and Decepticons weren't even born to be called Transformers. Let's travel back to Japan in the 70s. The toy company Takara had two lines called Diaclone and Microman. They were massive failures and were essentially neglected in their home country. Instead of throwing away the old molds, Hasbro and Takara gave them new names, a fresh coat of paint, and boom! They became robotic warriors from another planet. The Autobot cars you love were originally models from the Diaclone line. Even the great villain Megatron started as a small handgun in the Microman collection. Surprised? The manufacturers turned a pile of corporate unsold stock into a global legend. They breathed a soul and a personality into failed toys, causing millions of children, and us adults, to go absolutely wild for them. 6. An identity crisis. In the films, we see Skyfire soaring through the skies as mighty supersonic jets. But for one particular high flyer, life was full of contradictions, so much so that even his name was a blur between Jetfire and Skyfire. The truth is, his original look was borrowed from the design of the Super Valkyrie fighter, a masterpiece from a company called Takatoku. But when a copyright war broke out between Hasbro and Bandai, our warrior suddenly became a legal liability. Overboard and overnight, he had to undergo plastic surgery to change his appearance and was renamed Skyfire just to dodge the lawyers. It was like an ironic version of the witness protection program for robots, where you had to change your face just to stay on screen. 5. Hasbro inflated the stats for marketing. Do you remember the thrill of holding a brand new toy box, flipping it over to pore over the tech specs? Strength, intelligence, speed, firepower. Everything was meticulously graded like a report card. In reality, it was all a clever bit of price pumping by Hasbro. Originally, creator Bob Budiansky designed the stats to sound scientific, but the big bosses at Hasbro panicked. Who's going to buy a robot with an average score of 5? So they simply pushed the numbers up, turning every Transformer into a straight A student on a scale of 1 to 10. The funny thing is, characters who were killed off instantly, or those who couldn't even transform, still possessed dream-like stats. It was a case of score inflation, where accuracy took a back seat to the art of advertising. Hasbro knew one thing: in a child's world, a cool sticker and a high number carry a lot of weight. Looking back, we really were quite naive, weren't we? Megatron was once banned from Australia. We all know Megatron as the conqueror of stars, a Decepticon leader who makes the galaxy tremble. But while Optimus Prime can roll out freely across the globe, the tyrant Megatron always seems to hit a streak of bad luck when travelling. In real life, there's a similar script. You'll have to chuckle when you realise there's one enemy Megatron fears: Australian customs. This is perhaps the funniest secret in toy history. The original Megatron was essentially denied entry to Australia. The reason? His transformation into a Walther P-38 was so realistic, it violated strict replica firearm laws. So, while the Autobots were vacationing in Sydney, the great Megatron had to stay home because he looked too much like a real gun. A bitter end for a guy who wants to rule the universe but gets thwarted by border paperwork. 3. The leader who vanished in solitude. The 80s were a fever dream for toy robots. In your memory, Transformers might be the only name that reigned supreme. But dig a little deeper. Do you remember the name Gobots? If you owned a Gobot before you ever knew Optimus Prime, you aren't alone, because they actually got there first. You might be shocked to learn that in 1984, Tonka's Gobots was the revenue king, raking in $100 million. They hit the shelves earlier, sold more, and had a perfect start. So why did they vanish by 1987, while Transformers became an immortal empire? The answer lies in the soul of the story. While Gobots offered inanimate toys with names like Leader 1, Transformers gave children a legend. We weren't just buying robots. We craved the courage of Optimus Prime, hated the treachery of Starscream, and loved the warm heart of Bumblebee. Do you remember the first time you truly clicked with a character because of their personality? Let me know in the comments. 2. The legendary transformation sound was actually electronic music. Do you remember that signature chick every time Optimus Prime shifted from truck to robot? That sound is so deeply etched into our subconscious that just hearing it makes our brains automatically render images of separating wheels and sliding steel plates. But get ready to do a double take again. To create those 5 or 6 rhythmic beats, the sound engineers didn't use a single wrench. Sound designer Eric Ardal used digital signal encoding and sounds manipulated from electronic instruments. Longtime fans call it the transforming sound, but in technical circles, it's a blend of distorted engine roars and 80s computer square waves. Whether it's a giant truck like Optimus or a tiny cassette like Soundwave, they all share this same audio DNA. That repetition hypnotized an entire generation into believing this is the sound of Cybertron. 1. Those adorable animation errors. If you look closely, you'll see Optimus Prime speaking while his mouthplate stays perfectly still, or even Megatron's voice coming out of Optimus's mouth. Sometimes, fierce Decepticons are suddenly seen standing in the Autobot lineup like they're best friends. Don't be too quick to blame the filmmakers. Back then, every frame was hand-drawn on plastic film, CLs. Under the pressure of producing thousands of frames a week, artists in Japan and Korea would occasionally paint the wrong colour or slap on the wrong insignia. There are episodes where we see 2 Optimus Primes in the same frame, or a character who was destroyed in the previous scene suddenly cheering in the background as if nothing happened. And remember Acid Storm, the Green Seeker? He started as a colouring error for a background Decepticon. But because fans were so intrigued by the Green Guy, Hasbro decided to make him an official character with his own toy. Today's CGI is perfect to the last detail, but that's exactly why old school fans cherish the grit of the 1984 version. It feels human, accessible, and full of nostalgia. And so, we've journeyed back in time to unlock 15 of the strangest secrets of the Transformers empire. 1984. From surprising political handshakes and rare copyright accidents to silly animation glitches that became legends. It turns out the world of Cybertronian warriors isn't just about shifting metal blocks. It's a tapestry of memories woven from limitless creativity and fascinating coincidences. Whether it's a tiny beetle or a tyrant who can't get past Australian customs, these heroes might have been born from dead stock or rushed sketches, but the love we have for them is very real. Now, it's your turn. Of these 15 facts, which one made you fall out of your chair the most? Or are you hiding a dark secret of the Decepticons that I missed? Leave a comment with your memories below and tell me, would you like me to unbox the secrets of another 80s legend? Maybe G.I. Joe or He-Man? I'm waiting to hear from you.